welcome to an all-new episode of the Lamont Xperience, produced by Xperience Creative and brought to you by Boston Cannabis Week, and powered by MCR Labs and the good folks at Boston Hemp Company. As you can see, I am in a new space right now. Got a new little man cave going. I got my ghost. I got a ghost because it's Halloween season. And I'm excited about my new guest today. My next guest become a pretty good friend of mine. He is the founder of one of the coolest Instagram accounts going right now, one of the most popular, Following Boston. Please welcome Michael Kalish. Michael.
Thank you so much, Lamont. I appreciate it. Honored to be
How is everything with you, Michael?
Always thrilled to be chatting with you. Always
yeah,
thrilled.
Man.
Thanks so much.
How do we meet?
I was thinking about that, and I wanted to make sure that I had it correct for the chat today. And I'm going to go ahead and say that it was the 2019 Boston Conference.
The 10th annual. Indeed. The 10th. What do they call that when it's the 10th anniversary? What's that? What is that 10? What is that?
The Big 10?
What's the medal?
What's the medal? The prize medal? We'll have to find that.
That was a fun time, man. I was there to perform, and you were there to take pictures.
That was great.
And then we met, and then I think we blazed. Even did we?
It's possible. It's possible.
Did we spark it up?
Check the notes. It's quite possible, though. I do know that it was the first time I saw you absolutely slay like that, room that big, and from that moment, I'm thinking we got to do something together. I got this. Anything. We got to do something.
That was a surreal experience, man. Like to perform on that stage in front of all those people, like 5,000 people. I can't even. I had somebody even say to me, "Hey, Lamont, so is that your first arena show?" And first of all, who gets arena shows, right? Like Kevin Hart, Michael Che, and that's kind of it. But so was it my first? I mean, at that point, I was like, nah, it's my third, because I had done two before. Yeah. So I was like, nah, it's my third, baby, because it was the third one that weekend. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I had a good time, and it was cool meeting you and learning about Following Boston, and then we linked up.
Linked up. I mean, it was just an honor for me to be there, doing this thing that I love so much. It's just a new kind of press, and it just allowed me to kind of, be a fan of yours, seek you out, and potentially do something together, and here we are. So it's an amazing story.
So you have Following Boston is not where it ends though. Like you got Following Los Angeles, Following Chicago, Following, forgive me if I'm wrong, Portland?
Following New York. So we have
Following New York. How did I forget? How did I leave New York out and go straight to Portland? My bad, NYC.
Should be in Portland. A lot going on there right now.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there right now. Maybe that's where my brain's at. I'm thinking about civil rights.
Indeed.
So how did it come about? How did Following Boston come about? Are you from Boston?
I'm from Massachusetts, from Longmeadow, Mass. So I've loved Boston, been in Boston, been around it all my life. I'm a filmmaker, so when I went to school, it was in Philadelphia, University of Arts, and as soon as I figured out how to tell stories with the medium, I got the hell out of there because I didn't know anybody, and I didn't really feel like it was going to welcome me the same way that potentially Boston could. And so I came back to Boston and got involved with film education for a while, did some things with Boston University, Boston Film and Video Foundation, and then figured it was time to start my own project. And at the time, I was just really into documentary films, like a lot of us are. And the thing that was the closest to me, the subject-wise, were social photographers. And so 2015, a lot of the social photography hubs were kind of becoming popular, where people would post people's photos with a specific hashtag, but then they would also offer meetups where people could, have social interaction and, potentially more. So these folks were kind of a perfect bubble to start examining because they had a story to tell, and I was willing to, document it. And I figured once we kind of had a taste of the social photographers, then we could move on to other groups of musicians, other artists, and just get a real sense of what each city was like told through creatives. And so it really just started with that, with just a need to want to make a documentary film.
That's excellent, man. I think a lot of people don't realize that it doesn't just have to be sort of a video that tells a story. A single picture can actually express a whole lot, like a tree and some leaves. And I'm a big fan of autumn, fall. You know, I love fall. And anything I see, like my Instagram is like all Halloween and autumn accounts. And
that's what I love.
That's what I follow, and I like everything. It's ridiculous. So I don't understand. Like, people don't get it. Like, they don't get, like, you can look at one picture and you can see a whole world of information.
Right. It's like a painting. You know, it's just it's hard. It's you. It's not, you know, movies are interesting, but, you know, they're made of hundreds of people sometimes. So just the idea of just that one photograph telling the story, you know, especially like in a press sense, to where you really wouldn't need any words. There it is. That photo tells the whole story. Such a profound kind of thing that hit me at a really young age, and probably, you know, pushed me down this path of wanting to be a storyteller myself.
Yeah, that's great, man. No, that's excellent. Like, the idea and the focus in the art world. Like, art is such a necessary component to our society, and that's another thing that's undervalued. Like, as great as it is and as much as it's brought to the world, art is so undervalued, and it needs to be a priority. You know?
Right. And
I was thinking of this too. Like, in today's age, where everybody has a phone with a camera on it, so everybody's taking pictures, and then when you add filter possibilities into it, everybody thinks they're the next insert famous photographer here. I'm not. You know, everybody thinks they're Ansel Adams. Is that it? Is that a good one?
Yeah, Ansel Adams, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, look at me, huh? with the art knowledge.
That's right.
You know, so how do you dunk on these people who come to you going, I can do it too?
I think it all goes back to like the most simplest form of your art, wherever that started. So for me, if I see a photo with a lot of filters on it, I know that you're just covering it up, and that original image might be more interesting than whatever you're trying to do to it. If the image was, it would live on its own, and you might not have to kind of, you know, gunk it up as much as some people do.
It's like, it's more than just the photo or just snapping the photo, right? It's the before. A lot of work is done before the photo is snapped, right? Like, the positioning of your subject, or the angles that you take to present the possible story here, you know, like that goes a lot into it, correct?
That's your eye. That's your signature on it. And, you know, if you can get to a point, whether it's in whatever, I mean, even with you, Lamont, you get to a point where, you know, I can hear a joke or read it on Twitter and I know it's you. That's a signature. I mean, that's an artist right there. And
the voice. I mean,
I think that's what we're all going for. I mean, it's just in any medium, you know, you can pick out these masters, and it's just it's fun to watch. It certainly is.
It's like, I'm a big fan of jazz music, and I love jazz, and the saxophone is one of the greatest instruments ever. But I can listen to 10 different saxophonists, and it's the same instrument, but each one of those musicians has a fingerprint on their sound, and you can tell instantly. Like, oh, that's Cannonball Adderley. Oh no, that's Coltrane. Like, immediately you know who it is.
Right, especially with Coltrane. I mean, immediately. You know, I mean, that's what we're all going for, isn't it? You know.
Definitely. Let's talk about us. Let's talk about our thing. You guys reached out to me, and since September, I have partnered with you guys to drop a few times a week some content onto your page for people to enjoy. How's that been going so far? Have you guys any feedback? Anybody tell you that I suck? Like, who are they? Let me know their names.
Not to my face, and we don't have events anymore, so I don't really know. But how I can tell is we like it. So if we like it, then I believe that the community is going to like it. I mean, we've been doing it now for 5 years every day, just feeding this content, very unique content. And that's been the only kind of criteria for it. I mean, I look at it and it's like, I like it or you don't like it. And the other folks that are posting with us feel the same way. And you're a voice of this city that I'm in love with and we're all following. So I want to know what you have to say. And I also love breaking up just the pictures of Boston. You know, it's one part of what we do, but I'm really interested in the original content. You know, I would love to nudge it more towards its own kind of Vice-like entity. And that starts, you know, with folks like yourself collaborating with us to expand the message and to expand the audience, and to also show that we would like to have other like-minded folks like yourself, you know, with us. This is not an exclusive thing of just kind of who we know. For me, like when we called this thing Following Boston from the start, I knew that was going to be like the biggest challenge I had, no matter how long this thing went, was to live up to that name and really do it and follow the city, and not just my version of it or what I'm safe or where the city, what's going on music wise, culture, everything. And so it's been amazing to get to know people that I might have been I don't know, a little intimidated before, and this has given me, you know, kind of a, you know, cape to, you know, show up places I wouldn't normally go, and it's been an incredible ride.
I have to agree with you there, Mike. I am very intimidating. It's just a thing. It's my charm.
I know.
This month, September went great with the content. I thought it went great. I picked up some followers from you guys. That was awesome. Now we're in October, and you know it's Halloween month, so
that's all that.
We're gonna be coming out with. There's gonna be more Halloween content coming up. And I have a good one that I'm going to send to you guys this afternoon. I just thought of. It's very great pumpkin-y.
Oh, look for
very great pumpkin.
And then there's something with candy corn. Yes, I hope. I'm just throwing that out.
No, listen, let me tell you something. If you can't, I think people should know this. Putting candy corn in my trick-or-treat bag is an act of war. You understand?
Individual corns?
Any of them. A bag, individual, different flavors. I don't care what they are. I will fight your whole house if you put candy corn anywhere near the real candy in my bag. Halloween is a chocolate holiday that allows a few sort of more, I don't know, what's the word here? Like starbursty, like fruit flavored candies in Starburst. It's a chocolate holiday, first and foremost. Don't get it twisted. Snickers, candy, Snickers, Twix, Kit Kats, Reese's Cups. These are the main thing. Candy corn. If you give me candy corn when I was a kid.
And no Almond Joy.
No coconuts.
Right. So there must be
coconuts.
Must be exceptions.
If you give me candy corn, Almond Joy, or anything with coconut in it, I will turn your house into a Western omelet. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I know this, but I'm glad that you're putting this down here so that others will now know.
Yeah. You got to get that, you know. And talking about candy and art makes me think like, you know, artists like us, you know, we like to, you know, we're obviously Boston Cannabis Week is our engine here.
Indeed.
So. What is your thing, man? Talk to me. Your cannabis thing.
This will be interesting. So before I was following Boston, I was following hippie bands like the Grateful Dead and Fish. And so I went from one kind of bubble that was, you know, very kind of much about the cannabis community to another one, which is, you know, any major city right now in America. So, you know, my personal experience with it is, you know, much like a lot of people, when I was growing up, I kind of gravitated to it and was like, wow, this is amazing. This is for me. But I really didn't understand it or know how to kind of use it in more of like a medical sense. So you just spend a lot of your time just being totally, you know, blazed, which is good. But until you want to, you know, be productive and, you know, enjoy, you know, life and have people like you and keep a job and do things, you got to find a way to kind of juggle that.
Yeah.
So it took a whole bunch of years for this country to just figure out, you know, like there's a medicinal purpose behind it. And so it's like
without getting into all the political ridiculousness of, you know, all the stuff that we saw when we were kids on all the like the public service announcements, you know, like with everybody smoking weed and this will happen to you if you smoke weed.
Right.
And listen,
Or the
all I saw, Reagan, all the way back to Nixon, really. Nixon's the one who really kicked off this quote unquote war on drugs. Reagan just kicked it into overdrive. You know.
The eggs. I didn't
like
want
it's
eggs. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You don't want your brain to be eggs, right? So as a child, I saw that. I'm like, with when they were frying the egg, and this is gonna be brain. I'm like, I don't want that. I don't want my brain to be fried egg. So it was
exactly what I wanted when I was smoking. I was like, let me get.
But then you reach a point where you're like, no, that's exactly what I want. And
but like I would watch those commercials. And the only thing I would think of is like, oh yeah, I got weed. Like that's all it would do was remind me that I had weed somewhere. Like, oh, that's right. How does it affect you? Like as far as your art goes, like does it expand your mind? Sometimes it does expand my mind. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I'll go, oh, maybe I wouldn't have thought of this if I didn't, you know, blaze up a little bit before I got my notebook out.
Absolutely. Well, you know, luckily with this Falling Boston project, we somehow bumped into this amazing brand called Sierra Naturals early on. It's one of Boston's finest dispensaries, and they approached us before they even opened their first location because they thought that we might be some kind of, you know, bridge to the community. They really saw it before kind of we did or anything. And they're just really great people, and they took us in. And kind of prior to that, I really didn't know much about, you know, it's just, here you go, here's your bag of weed. And after hanging with them for a little bit and really understanding that, you know, if you're looking to be productive and if you're looking to, you know, not sleep all day and you want to find the right thing, it's just like any vitamin or something that you're, you know, missing, or a medication or something that if it's not making you feel the way that you want to feel, which would be for a lot of creatives, which is productive, then you're doing the wrong thing. So, you know, that's where, you know, sativas come into it. It's gonna be a thing where it's not going to just lay you out, you know, where you're, you know, just kind of hanging on, and eventually, you know, sleep is all you have. I guess if that's kind of what you're looking for, and I love that it's available to you, and that you know, to go into a store and be able to ask for it now specifically, or get the education, is just incredible. But for me, it's more of like a positivity thing. It's more of like an upbeat and go to work. And you're right, it's that fine line to where, you know, you got to find the right thing. And you know, luckily Sierra Naturals has been incredible. I mean, it brings me to another point, is probably like I haven't like physically, you know, smoked anything in years. And that's because of, you know, what's happened in this state by allowing the medical marijuana to become a reality. I guess while I was, you know, when I was growing up, it was just, that was the only way you could receive it, you know, and I never, even at the time, I always was like, no, that was kind of a bummer. But, you know, now through, you know, obviously tinctures or kind of, you know, edibles or other things that, if you could just find the right thing that works for you, it's going to be like anything. It's just going to be like like I said, like a vitamin. And so it's been, you know, it's been positive just to be able to know that you can go talk to some good people and be, you know, educated about it. Yeah.
That's great, man. That's great. Well, that brings me perfectly into this, because, you know, I know from knowing you for a little while now that you are a big movie fan, and obviously smoking with the movies is always good.
I love
always movies. Good. And you're like, are you a film nerd? Like, can you know what I mean? Like, I look at it like this. I love that I get some sick satisfaction that Avengers Endgame has the all-time box office. And then you get some people that go, well, actually, it's inflation, which I understand. But they go, well, if you think about it, it's really Casablanca with tickets sold. And I'm like, yeah, Casablanca does have it. But if you really think about it, what else was there to do in 1939? You know what I mean?
An excellent point.
Avengers got to compete with video games, internet, all kinds of stuff. Yeah. Casablanca had to compete with what? A couple statues?
Exactly. Yeah. I think that, like, for movies, like for me, like I just let them hit me. And I can remember, like, early on when I was like, okay, I'm going to be a filmmaker, so I got to go and I have to see Citizen Kane, and I got to see Gone with the Wind. And I started to do that, and it wasn't doing anything for me. I wasn't ending these things like a little mini class. I wasn't like gaining any knowledge on it. So I kind of just stopped it, and I realized like that's just not the kind of filmmaker I am. I mean, I'm interested in all kinds of films, but so I just wait for things to hit me, and however that is, maybe it could be just even like a frame of something, you know, even if it was a poster, or a lot of times, you know, when you used to be in like Blockbuster Video, and you'd go by and you just look at the, you know, the cover, and be like, oh, all right, this is my flavor, you know. I'm kind of looking.
So yeah,
for that.
You don't force it. Like I'm the same way with comedy. I don't force it. I wait for things to come to me. I can't sit down and go, I'm writing right now, because I'll drive myself crazy. You know what I mean? So I try to let it flow. But as far as watching stuff, like I enjoy watching stand-up comedy a lot. I enjoy seeing other great comics perform. For you with movies, all right, here's a good one. What's your favorite movie of all time?
It's such a weird thing, and just I don't even know if it's gonna like.
Well, do you even have one favorite? Like you can't choose between your kids.
I think the most rewatchable movie that I, you know, and so I kind of judge it on that, because I like to see a lot of different films, but I don't want to watch them again necessarily. But like, I think the most rewatchable movie that I've ever seen is Almost Famous. For me, I think it's
I've never seen it.
Oh, it's you're gonna love it, Lamont. But what I love about the movie is that it's a ride, right? You start in one place, you end in another, and you feel like you went somewhere, and that's cinema right there. I mean, you forget your life, you know, for a while, and you're just on that journey with these characters. So I can't.
I'll make you a deal.
Okay.
I'll make you a deal. I'll watch Almost Famous.
Okay.
If you agree with me that Beverly Hills Cop is the greatest movie of all time.
Part 1 or 2, or 1 and 2.
Did I say 2? I said Beverly Hills Cop
is the greatest of all time.
Yeah. Beverly Hills Cop. Beverly Hills Cop 2 is my top 3 favorite movies for a long time, and I gotta do some reshuffling. I'll admit. But here's my 3 favorite movies: Beverly Hills Cop, number 1.
Of course.
Number 2, Midnight Run.
Of course, fabulous.
And my third favorite movie of all time is Beverly Hills Cop 2. That's right. Eddie Murphy is my hero, and I will not be apologetic about that.
I cannot wait until we remake that film, you and me. I think about it a lot.
You gonna remake Beverly Hills Cop?
Yes, we will. Yes, we will. Yes, we will. Yeah, are you kidding me? He's a god. I mean, Eddie, you know, I can remember my life before, I guess, Delirious. You know, seeing like Delirious on the TV, you know, and just like, I was an infant maybe before or something, a child, and then you watch that, and so Delirious was like the thing that kind of just yanked me right out of the, you know, look at what the adults are doing. Okay, he's an adult, he's doing that. By the time
Delirious was the movie, Delirious was the concert film that the HBO special actually that made me go, okay.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I saw it. I was soaking up comedy at the time, and I saw that, and I loved it. Then I saw Beverly Hills Cop, because I was too young when those things originally came out. So I saw them on tape like years later. We're talking like early 90s and stuff. And when I saw Beverly Hills Cop, I knew. I was like, I snuck and saw Delirious. And then Beverly Hills Cop was on like a tape that I had gotten, and I was like, oh yeah, this is it. I wanted to do what he's doing, because I love comedy. There's something about him that spoke to me, and he's just like you said, he's a god, and there's really no two ways about it.
Yeah, he's an artist, and so you can see the climb right there, right? So you can see where even prior to that, I mean, I guess like you know, people would have said like George Carlin or Richard Pryor, as far as like, you know, really perfecting, you know, the language and really turning an art form. And then I would say by the time, you know, so that's when I started to notice Eddie Murphy was like right around Delirious. And then so when Raw hit, you know, we're looking at like the peak Elvis. I mean, we're looking at Picasso. You know, you're looking
27.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking
27 when he said, I'm good with stand-up.
Yeah, it's just peaking, and there's nowhere left to go, because he's just the medium. He's able to gobble the medium and put it on something for us to see it, and it's just genius. And then what he was saying, it sounded more like music. You know, it wasn't just foul. This was art.
Hey, the final topic that I want to talk to you about, Michael Kalish, it being October, it being Halloween season. See that ghost? Ooh.
Yes, indeed.
Ooh.
Yeah, wait.
Horror movies. You got a ghost too?
I would be ghosted with you. I figured if I'm going to talk to Lamont Price, I got to have some.
Halloween. Oh, we went to the same dollar store.
I saw you there.
Yeah.
Horror movies is the greatest. Horror movies are the greatest. When you say horror movies, a couple just come to mind right away for me.
Okay.
The first Nightmare on Elm Street. I mean,
I was watching that last night.
Yeah, I mean, this is, when that thing hit, I mean, that just, because it came in quiet. Nobody knew. It wasn't like, the sequels. And this thing just crept on the scene like it was like a snuff film that somehow snuck into the theater. I didn't know what is this? And it was so profound for me to watch that and to see, that you could do it on such a low budget, like you could do it on such a, so that one whacked me over the head. So then by the time Blair Witch showed up, I'm like, there are no excuses to doing anything anymore. And if you're not doing it, you're just being lazy. That's it. That film shows you that. You want to make a movie, go make a movie. You don't need anything. Just go do it.
Blair Witch was one of those movies. I saw that in the theaters. And I remember in the theaters, I was like, this is interesting, but I'm not really creeped out by it. But the magic was not in the theaters. It was later when you were alone at home, no one else in the house. Every little creak, every little sound that you would normally dismiss as, oh, this is the house. You thought of that movie like, uh-oh, who might be here? That stuff. That's where that movie's genius is.
You stay far away.
It gets you. It stays with you.
No basement for a long time. But now that you mention that, Lamont, it's an excellent. But then if you rewind it just a little bit and go back to before the movie came out, that's another good example of marketing genius. And that was probably like the first movie that really used the internet to just fuck with people, because I think people thought it was real. I think people thought this was like a documentary. They were selling it like that, and it was like one of the first websites you ever saw, and you were like, what is this? And it was so raw and so minimal that you're thinking Hollywood didn't make that, so maybe this is some real shit. And so that got the wave of interest going. And right there, it cost them like 20 grams. So that is a master class.
Let's put the worst weekend of these kids' lives in the theater.
Oh my gosh! I mean, I couldn't get out of that movie quick enough. And here's another thing: is that it was scary, right? Because we see all sorts of shit, and you're very rarely scared, right? I mean, I love it when it finally happens, but it's so rare, especially nowadays. But that last scene, I mean, holy shit! They really delivered, and that's usually where most films fall off a cliff. Right there, you know what I mean? They give you the few scares before, and you're like, all right, this is where you should hit it. Except I'm looking at the credits, like you lost it, And that film knocked it out of the park. I mean,
well, that's where their film's genius is, because most horror films you can leave there going, I had a good time, because they wrap it up. This movie never wrapped it up, and that's why. And we'll close on this. My favorite horror movie of all time is the original 1978 John Carpenter's Halloween. Because the way it was originally made, it was only supposed to be one. And at the end of that movie, Michael was gone. You didn't know where he was. So that is my favorite horror movie of all time, the original Halloween. What's yours, Mike?
That's a masterpiece. I mean, my favorite, I don't even think my mind or body would let me answer anything other than The Shining. I mean, Jesus.
Excellent movie.
This is a masterpiece. And talk about a masterpiece that keeps giving. I mean, I don't know if it's ever going to stop. I mean, this is like, it's insane what Kubrick did. I mean, this is, he lived in this movie, and he made it so that Stephen King was pissed off about it. I mean, I love that. I love that he perverted it. I love that he made it his own, and he didn't take it and try to please everybody with it. He did a real collaborative project there. And every single time I watch it, it's so damn fresh. I don't even know what to say. I mean, it's speechless. The colors, everything's just doesn't get any better.
Definitely one of the greatest flicks of all time. Two of the greatest horror movies of all time. Mike, thank you for joining me today. I appreciate you coming on. In October, one of our Halloween episodes. We got the ghosts up there. Make sure you guys follow Following Boston on Instagram. I still have a partnership with Following Boston. I'll be providing content with them throughout the month of October, all the way up until Halloween. Continue to follow Following Boston. Beyond that, they have great content, great artists. Follow Michael Kalish also on Instagram. So check that out. I'm Lamont Price. Thank you, Michael Kalish. Peace out, guys. Elevate the culture.